You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast, a proud member, as always, of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of those great shows to get great Patriots content all week long. Tonight, it is the Patriot Nation podcast, and it is the return of Matt St. Jean. Matt is back out of concussion protocol, here with us. And welcome back, Matt. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. Nice to be clearing the protocol here.
Yes.
It's been one heck of a week and a half for me. Yeah. The lesson to everyone, if you are getting leftover mac and cheese out of the fridge, watch the handle on the freezer door when you stand back up.
It's wild.
Sometimes it hits like prime Ed Reed.
It's wild. And it's one of those things where it's like, I was telling you too, like my neighbor like almost died fixing his car. He just stood up and hit his head on the hood of his car and just hit it in the right way. Ended up, had a concussion, ended up having a brain bleed and had, and went rushing in the emergency room and like had to have a procedure done. Like, and it's just complete freak accident. Right. And it's like, sometimes you just hit it in the right way and see you later. It's wild to think that these guys go out on Sundays and they're in what's basically the equivalent of a car crash. And they're, fine for the most part. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it really is insane. But you know what? I'm alive and I'm back, and I might not be 100% the math that everyone's used to, but I'm probably like 95% of the way there.
Yeah, that's good enough, So we appreciate it. But I actually want to start off the show on a somber note. I know we talked about you coming back on a somber note. Unfortunately, Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealon with a terrible. I don't want to get into. I have no idea the context. I don't know what happened. I don't think it matters what happened, to be very honest with you at this point. 24 years old, and to lose a guy that young to suicide is just horrifying. You never know what people are going through, and obviously he has the play on Monday Night Football to score a touchdown on Monday Night Football. And then by the end of the week, he takes his own life, and it's awful. It's awful. And that's just, whatever happened, whatever the situation was, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just awful to see. And so, prayers go out to his family and it's just awful.
Awful stuff. And we don't know any specifics. I will say we know that his mother had passed away last year before he got drafted, and that a couple months before he got drafted. And, I can just say, like, as someone who lost my mom when I was in college, I don't know exactly what he was feeling, but I know it's been almost 7 years for me, and it's taken me a long time to get emotionally right after something like that. And this is someone who's younger and it's fresher, and I don't know if that played into this, but it's not an easy thing to deal with. Doesn't matter how much attention you get or how much money you have or how successful you are in your career. Your emotions are your emotions. You got to live with you every day, and it's not always easy.
Yeah.
So if you are having issues, reach out to the people around you.
Yeah, and ultimately, what I would say is reach out to your friends, and check in on your friends, and not just how you doing, because that's like how you doing? Good. All right, cool. Check in, talk to them, see how they're doing, share some of your feelings, make it a safe space to open up to each other. And people don't do that enough, I feel like, and that's everyone. I feel like we just don't do that enough, but open up to each other and talk to each other and make your place a safe space for other people as well. It matters. It matters, and you never know, the type of impact you can have. And, tell your friends you care about them and you love them. It makes a difference. So it's,
And I do think that there's, I agree with all of that stuff. And I feel like you're always looking for someone who is, sad or bummed out, or someone who's just, feeling a little bit off. But like,
Right.
this can happen with people who look like they're having the best time in the world, who are experiencing the highs of their life. So, it's not, I mean, obviously reach out to any friends that are down, but like check in with the ones that you think are up too.
Yeah.
Make sure things are good there. And, yeah.
That's a great point. It's a great point.
Tragic.
So, yeah.
A tragic situation here. So obviously, our hearts go to everyone, families, and Cowboys organization, and not the way anyone wants to go into Week 10 of the NFL season here.
You get that right. Or anything else for that matter. But right, let's get into let's talk about a little earlier in the week. The NFL trade deadline. We'll just kind of switch gears back into football here. But I just wanted to start with that. I thought it was important to start with that. But but let's switch gears back into football. Thank you, Ryan, for saying the beard looks nice. Appreciate you.
Feeling left out. No mustache.
I know it's Movember and everything, dude.
It is.
But Patriots don't make a move at the trade deadline. Of course, they had made 2 moves earlier in the trade process, getting rid of 2 guys, but didn't acquire anyone. What are your thoughts, Matt? I tweeted out a video and posted on Instagram too, just a quick video kind of talking about my thoughts. What are your thoughts about it?
On one hand, I don't think it's super surprising. On the other hand, I do think it is a little bit surprising. I think, I'm fully on board with getting rid of Kyle Duggar and Keon White. I think it was clear those guys were not fits anymore, and you want to sell while there's still some value there and get something back. Seemed like they were poised to make some kind of a move here, and just the right opportunity didn't come up. It's hard to judge here because we don't know the specifics of what those opportunities looked like. But yeah, you have a lot of day 3 picks. I figured you could have swapped them for someone you think has upside at some position. Clearly, they don't think that they could have done that. So, I think they did well with their veteran additions this free agency. So I'm going to give them a little bit of leeway here in understanding what the market looks like. I think one of the guys I probably would have wanted the most who got moved was Jalen Phillips. I think he'd be a fit. And, we talk about, well, I'll make a baseball analogy here. You talk about how you had a good reliever at the trade deadline, and then it bumps all the relievers down a peg and allows you to feel better about your matchups. That's how I would have felt about adding someone like Phillips. It's like, all right, now Harold Landry and Caleb Jason have, they don't have to do as much. And I think you can tell when they're not out there. But, that price was high for someone who might hit free agency and end up in New England for week 1 next year. You can still sign him as things stand right now. I don't know if he's going to end up back in Philly. So I'm not going to get too upset about that. Rashid Shaheed is someone I really liked. It's a 4th and a 5th for him, which is a little bit high, but I think I would have strongly considered that. Clearly they didn't agree. And I think one of the toughest things to manage here, if you're New England, is that so many of the spots we've talked about them needing players are spots where they just drafted guys and you want the young guy to get playing time.
Right.
I think it's somewhat similar to the situation the Red Sox were in, not this year, but like 2023 and 2024, I think were like seasons where the Red Sox were like in playoff contention and then didn't add at the deadline, mostly because they were like, hey, we can't, our positions of need are positions where we're going to have prospects playing next year. So if you want to get a good player, we're going to have to go pay give up a lot of capital to go get a guy who's immediately going to get pushed out of that spot next year by a young player. Or we can just kind of add just a guy at that position. But what's the point? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
Which is kind of like running back to me as a position like that, where it's like, all right, we can pay a premium price and go get a premium player. But now, we're going to trade a 3rd for Breece Hall. We just used a 2nd on Trevion Henderson. The Patriots are already a top 7 team in payroll to running back this year and next year. Is that the best use of assets for that position when you're going to be paying 2 different guys? And like, all right, we're going to pay Breece Hall. We're also going to have Trevion Henderson. They can work well together. I'm not opposed to having multiple running backs that you're going to invest in highly, but is that the best use of resources there? Right. I'm not sold that it is.
When I agree. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but TD saying, Phillips for a fifth. Phillips did not go for a fifth. Jalen Phillips went to the Eagles for a third.
Yeah.
And you're paying a premium because you're in division. If you're trading with the Miami Dolphins and you want to beat out what the Eagles are sending them, you're probably going to have to send them a second round pick. And if that's the case, and here's a guy that hasn't signed yet in Philadelphia. So he's in a great situation in Philadelphia. He hasn't signed the contract extension. Now, maybe he will, but he didn't sign a contract extension when the trade was announced, which I thought he might, but he didn't. If you're sending a second-round pick for Jalen Phillips and you're not guaranteeing that he's going to be back next year, I think that's an incredible waste of your assets. Did I want them to add someone? Absolutely. I wanted them to add someone. 100% I wanted them to add someone. But again, the way I looked at it, and Shaheed is a good name, where I feel like Rashid Shaheed is a name that I think you can make at least an argument about that should have been a guy that should have been on their radar. But nobody else that moved I was really interested in. Not a single guy. And again, Jalen Phillips is a guy. But if you're telling me I have to send a second-round pick for Jalen Phillips and I'm not guaranteed to re-sign him, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
And even if it's for a third,
right,
and you're not guaranteed to re-sign him, I don't love that, especially because, like, Kayvon Chasen's the free agent next year. So you're going to have to pay him. And it's like, Jalen Phillips better than Kayvon Chasen. If you have to pick one, then you're picking Phillips. But I don't love a world where it's like, all right, we're going to trade a third for the right to pay Jalen Phillips, and then we're going to let Chasen go. And like, all right, you just have to think long-term with this. And, I think you're in a spot where you have to find that right balance between competing right now and showing the current players that, yes, we like you, we're willing to go in with this group, and maintaining flexibility for the future. The cautionary tale, though, I think we used all season. We're going to use all seasons. What's going on in Washington? They locked themselves into a bunch of older players, and it was great for the first year when you're playing bad teams, and then you pull one upset win in the playoffs, and you think you're right there for a Super Bowl, and it's no, you're a wild card team that got lucky in a playoff game. Now you're playing a harder schedule, and some things don't go as well for you. But now they're 3-6. You want to give yourself room to adjust from the lessons you learned this year if you're in New England.
100%. And I will say
the goal isn't to roll the same team out there next year. The goal is to roll out a better team next year. Yeah.
And this is the other part of it. And TD mentions you get the pick back if they walk. No, you don't. This is why, in my opinion, I thought the Jets won the trade deadline, but I thought not trading Breece Hall was incredibly stupid. Incredibly stupid. Because they're probably not going to re-sign. Maybe they will re-sign Breece Hall. I don't know. But if they don't re-sign Breece Hall, they're not getting a comp pick back for him. Because remember, the comp picks get knocked out by who you sign. Now, maybe they just sign no one in the offseason, and so they end up getting a comp pick back for Breece Hall. But you're telling me the Patriots aren't going to go out and sign some guys? The Patriots are going to go out and sign some guys. And Jalen Phillips isn't going to command top of the market money. So you're probably getting a 4th-round pick back for him at best. You're signing a guy that's going to cancel out that contract anyways. So now you're not getting a comp pick back. So you're sending a 2nd-round pick, or say it's a 3rd and a 5th, whatever it is. You're sending a 3rd plus to get them. And then you're losing him and getting nothing in return. And again, look, do I think the Patriots are a good team right now? I do. Do I think the Patriots are a Super Bowl contender right now? No, I do not. Would I pick the Patriots in a game against Kansas City in the playoffs, regardless of where it's played? I most certainly would not. And I can't imagine anyone else would either.
Well, I think most importantly with that, they're not one player from being favored in that game. If they were one player away, I'd say go do it. But it's like
100%.
Like when I look at team needs, if we start short term, there's Ramondre Stevenson, Kayshon Boutte being injured right now. You're just in a weird spot where it's like both of these guys just had players drafted as their kind of not replacements, but you just had Kyle Williams and Trevion Henderson drafted this year. So like those are the guys who were supposed to step up for the guys who got injured, and neither guy's been put on injured reserve. So we assume that neither guy's missing a whole lot of time there. It's like, all right, I'm not going to go trade. I can only imagine what's going on in this Broncos-Raiders game right now. You're not going to trade draft picks to go replace Kayshon Boutte for 2 weeks or replace Ramondre Stevenson for 3 weeks, unless we're talking about giving up a 7th for a depth guy that you really like.
Right.
You might be able to get otherwise, which I would have been in favor of a move like that if the right one surfaced. And then, like, I don't know, defensively, like, I think edge rusher is the one where I'm like, I do wish they did something. It sounded like they wanted Arden Key, and maybe Tennessee wouldn't move him. I'm a little unsure about the reporting around the Tennessee stuff because that's weird. But like, that's the move I would have done. And if they won't go for it, not much you can do there.
Well, the other part of it is that who was like the question I come back to is who was moved that I wish they had been in on, right? Jalen Phillips, but not for that cost. Jacoby Myers, maybe, but again,
no, it's
I'm
not interested. Like, I really like Jacoby Myers. I would rather those snaps go to Kyle Williams.
And I agree.
Snaps, yeah,
right.
Just look at some of the other moves here. Like, maybe you could have tried to go get Joe Tryon Shoyinka from the Browns.
He hasn't played this year. Has he even played this year? I don't think so. Does he have any stats?
31 snaps this season.
Yeah, it's not. Sorry.
Obviously, I want to, before we move on to the Patriots-Buccaneers game, and after we do this segment, we have to talk about the Jets.
Yes.
Let's make that its own thing.
So before we do that, this game right now is insanity. Just complete throwback. Thursday night football. Everyone's a disaster. The Broncos missed a 59-yard field goal. And then right after the Broncos missed the 59-yard field goal, the Raiders threw a slant pass to Ashton Genty. It bounced off his face into the air, and it was intercepted by, I think, a defensive lineman dropping in coverage who picked it up and then ran 15 yards downfield. So, like, that's the stuff for me where it's like, this is hysterical. And then the Broncos just kind of penalty, which puts them back 10 yards. So now it's 2nd and 20 or something like that. It's ridiculous. Anyways, it's insane. This game is wild. But this is the thing for me. When you're talking about the guys that got moved, there's no one got moved. And people mentioned Jerome Ford. I agree. People have mentioned who's the other back that someone mentioned? Tony Pollard. Or they haven't mentioned Tony Pollard, but people talked about Tony Pollard. People talked about Arden Key. People talked about those guys.
And there's one guy that got moved that I think, I would have been interested in, and that's Draymond Jones. But we run back into the whole Titans issue with that.
Right.
Though. They're not willing to trade with you, I guess.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, that is the one move that was actually made at this deadline that I wish the Patriots made. It sounds like the Titans were unwilling to make that move with you. And, I'm a little frustrated the move wasn't made. I also appreciate the restraint to not make a move for the sake of making a move. And it's just like what you are banking on right now is being able to draft well next year. And if you want to build a contender, you have to draft well. That's always going to be the case. So if you want to, they got 11 picks next year. All right, that gives you flexibility to move around the draft board, flexibility to trade for veterans
100%
in the off season, and for this year, we think this team is going to be a playoff team. We think Drake May can help you compete with any team out there. And, you might not be favored in whatever playoff game you play in, but you're going to get the opportunity to play in it. And it's going to be on the backs of this young core of guys that you drafted to win those games. And I think we all feel pretty optimistic about that group. The coaches clearly feel pretty optimistic about that group. I don't feel worse about the Patriots today than I did 2 weeks ago.
Well, and that's really the thing, right? Ultimately, for me, when I look at it and what you said, I actually want to go back to what you said. What you said about the fact that they're not one player away. They're not. Like, do we need some help? Do I think that the Patriots could theoretically make a run? Yeah, They can't. With the way Drake May's playing right now, they could beat anyone on any game on any given day, right? So would I have loved to have seen them go out and get some reinforcements for him? Yeah, sure. But who? Who's going to make them a team that's going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? Right? Is that guy Jacoby Myers? No.
Yeah.
No, that guy's not Jacoby. Is that guy Rashid Shaheed? Maybe. But I think I'd like to see Kyle Williams take those snaps and maybe see if we can make Kyle Williams that type of guy. Like,
well, and then
that's
the flip side of this is that, like, if you're what do you call it? Kyle Williams doesn't develop into that guy, like Rashid Shaheed's going to be a free agent at some point, and you can try to go sign him if you want, or you
this year, by the way.
Yeah, or you could draft another day 3 or day 2 wide receiver and keep throwing darts at this until you finally get one and land it.
Correct.
Because eventually you're going to get there. Like, you throw enough darts at the board, one will hit eventually.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I'm not. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I do think part of this too is that the schedule they've played this year has been so ridiculously easy too, that it's like, if the trade deadline were next week and they went into Tampa and beat Tampa, and you go down there and you win by like 2 scores, and then you have the trade deadline, I'm going to approach it differently, because then you will have a road win against Buffalo and a road win at Tampa, and you beat Atlanta, a team that has, you know, beaten the Bills and has been inconsistent but feisty, has shown that they can play with good teams.
Right.
You know, you blow out a Browns defense that's top ranked. You blow out a Panthers team that has a winning record right now. It's like, all right, now we feel good enough about the track record of this team to say we're willing to sacrifice some future stuff to push with this group. We're just not there with these guys yet.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, it's, yeah, I feel very good about where this team is, and I fully expect them to be competitive the rest of the season into the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same way. You know, it's just, listen, would I have liked to have seen them make a move? Sure. I absolutely would have. By the way, the Titans thing is wild. I mean, that's getting reported. It feels like it's a true story. But, like, that's insane. Insane to me.
This is how bad teams stay bad. Bad franchises stay bad. Because they're awful right now, and they could ship off, like, Arden Key is just a guy in the NFL. He's a guy that we could use. But, like, he's just a guy in the NFL. You could get a draft pick back for him to help try to build around Cam Ward or replace Cam Ward in the future if you need to, and like start building towards something. And it's like, no, we would rather be petty than give up this guy. Like, that's not, what are we doing here?
Right. And there have been some people, TD points out that Phil Perry kind of disputed that, and maybe that's not true. Right? Maybe it's not true. It doesn't really matter whether it's true or not, to be honest with you. But it is kind of strange that the Patriots were linked to all these guys. I guess because they were former Vrabel guys. I guess I don't know, but it's kind of strange that that's the case.
Here's a question. I will say, if we are going to take a critique of this team's approach to the trade deadline, it does seem a little bit like they inquired on a bunch of guys. Like, they basically inquired on 2 groups of guys. One guy's kind of at the top of the market that we knew might be available. 2, just players that Mike Vrabel knows. Right. Is it a little bit weird that they weren't willing to take a risk on, like, maybe we could just bring in just a guy and from another team that we don't know and see if he can work? And I think part of that's the deadline. It's mid-season, so you don't necessarily at this point in a rebuild for New England want to take a risk on adding someone who's a complete unknown to you. But, like,
well, yeah, but I also think, but again, where is that guy going to help? The biggest thing for me, and this is the thing for me. This is the thing, because TD says you go for it when you can. I agree. I agree with that.
Now, I think that time's like next year,
but not year after. But not even that. Not even that. Go for it this year. Absolutely. Maybe you caught lightning in a bottle. But is adding a depth piece, because is adding a third running back to your team going to be the thing that puts you over the edge because you traded a 4th round pick to get a depth running back?
Well, like Terrell Jennings is fine.
But that's what I
No
mean.
issues.
Like, we traded a 4th-round pick to get a running back. Oh, wow. You know what? We were going to lose to Kansas City, but now that we have a 4th-round pick that we traded for a bum running back, whew, now we're going to win. Like, that just doesn't do it for me. Oh, we traded for a depth defensive end who's going to pass rush on 60 snaps this year. That's it. There it is. That put us over. It's like, come on. Like, it's not for me personally. And by the way, Matt TD saying he reminds us they remind him of the 2001 Patriots. How many deadline deals did the Patriots 2001 Patriots move?
Dude, this is what I've been literally looking at over here. The Patriots don't do this anyway. Like, I don't think
Zero.
the Patriots make I don't think they made a deadline acquisition for any of their 6 Super Bowl wins.
I doubt it. Oh no, they definitely made a few for who's the linebacker they got in 2014?
Akeem Ayers.
Yes, they got Akeem Ayers, and they did the same thing with another linebacker in 2016. Like, they did pick up some guys here and there. For the most part, they weren't really picking guys up. Like, and in 01, I'm pretty confident that they picked up nobody.
So if you're saying this team reminds you of the 01 team, the 01 team did not make a deadline addition, and
the 01 team made 0 deadline additions. 0.
Yeah.
0. And the other Super Bowls, I think they did. 03 and 04, I'm not 100% sure of. They definitely did later on. I don't know if they did in 18. They definitely did in 14. I'm not sure about 16. But they 100% made some deals in 14, and I think they probably did in 16 as well. Talib was 2017? No, 2013.
No, he was 2012.
2012. That's right.
Because his first game was the Andrew Luck's first game coming to Foxborough until Talib got him.
That's right.
That's when he came in. Which I was researching that 2012 team recently, and I completely forgot that Talib got injured in that AFC Championship game. That's one of those, what ifs. That
year, 2006. 2006, I would have won the Super Bowl against the Bears in 2006. You kidding me?
Yeah,
that team's awful.
Yeah. So no, and I'm not opposed to like going and making moves here, but that's never been the deadline MO of the Patriots for a long time, and they've won a lot of Super Bowls. Like, you clearly don't need to do this to win. The best time to acquire talent is in the offseason. It's cheaper to make these trades in the offseason than it is to do at the deadline. And a lot of these guys who get traded, like, again, Jalen Phillips, if he ends up as a free agent, you can have him on the team next year, or you can have him on the team for 4 years starting next year without having to give up the draft pick for him. Then you can use that draft pick, that 3rd-round pick that you would have had to trade for him, go draft a running back. You can fix multiple problems here. So, again, not opposed to deadline additions, but like, to me, deadline additions are typically a team that is a Super Bowl contender that has a hole that needs patching. You need a Band-Aid somewhere, like when the Patriots added Akeem Ayers, it's all right, we just need like one, and he was like more of a special teamer type guy, but it's like, we just need one more body here to back things up. There's no like position where I'm like, okay, well, the Patriots need to make that move. They could have. I wouldn't have been upset if they did. There's some that I would have liked. One that didn't happen that I would have liked, depending on price, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think would have made sense for them. Is like, all right, this is one hole in their defense we might be able to patch. The flip side is that they're like short-staffed, trying to teach a new defense right now with Terrell Williams not in the building and Zach Kerr trying to do things. And like, I don't know. How much value is a guy like that going to provide to you mid-season?
So, by the way,
so important.
Just because I looked it up and I was curious. 2014, they acquired Akeem Ayers. 2016, they traded Jamie Collins.
Yes.
And replaced him with Kyle Van Noy at the trade deadline. Pretty good trade deadline for them in 2016. And in 2018, they didn't do anything. So, it's one of those things for me that, look, do I wish they had done something? Sure. I would have loved for them to have done something. But there's nothing that happened that I'm upset they weren't in on. I get wanting to be in on Jalen Phillips because Jalen Phillips is really good. But He's got a crazy injury history.
Yeah, that's the other part of that makes you scared.
He's a good player, but he's not a great player. I'm not giving up a second-round pick or a third-round pick plus to rent that guy. It just that's you know what I mean? And listen, they did get rid of 2 guys. They essentially cut 2 players is what they did. They just cut those 2 guys. They got something back for them, but they didn't really. Like that was like we're giving Kyle Duggar, we're getting rid of Kyle Duggar because we want his money off the book so we can spend money next year. That's the only reason they got rid of Kyle Duggar.
Which, by the way, they trade him, and then you look at, I think, Woodson, Hawkins, and Pettis all had really good moments at safety against Atlanta. Yeah. So, like, they weren't Kyle Duggar was probably at this point the worst safety on the roster.
That's correct. Yep. So
not named at least Schooler when it comes to defensive ability, and like Keon White, not that good and not at all a scheme fit.
Right.
And it's not improved since day one in New England.
Right.
Right. His best game in New England was the first one he played here, and then that was
it. He had a good game last year. He started off pretty strong, but he's an interior rusher, not an edge rusher. We talked about this already. It's foolish to keep going over it, and it's just the way it is, And listen, could that come back to bite them if Jalen Hawkins or Del Pettis or God's sakes, what the hell's the rookie's name? Why am I blanking on 31? Woodson, thank you. If one of those guys get hurt and they, have to call up 2 safeties, is there a possibility? Sure, maybe. Yep. Is Saunders not going to be a guy that can step in for you and play? Maybe not. But, I don't know. Like, I'm not upset about it. I mean, they literally, they're paying, like, how badly they didn't want Kyle Duggar on the roster is they're paying the rest of his salary this year, basically.
Yeah.
They just said, get him off our books for the foreseeable future. Perfect. See you later, dude. We're all set. Gives us some flexibility.
We talk about having bodies at the safety position, too. They have 5 safeties on the roster right now and another one on the practice squad. They have bodies. The problem for them at safety is that they don't really have any splash players there. But you're not, unless you think Minka can be that for you and you think you can make that trade. That's not happening at the deadline.
Right. I agree.
Like that's not something you're like. A lot of the problems on this team are ones that you're not fixing at the deadline.
100%. I agree with that, and that's
when it's also like things like you would consider like, all right, maybe a different left guard. We want to kick Jared Wilson to center or do something there. Like, but these are moves that are like, all right, how does that? I come back to the Red Sox dilemma thing of like, all right, so we're going to trade for a left guard to replace Jared Wilson for the next 8 games, and then what?
Right.
What's the plan then?
Well, and who are we getting?
Are we giving up on Jared Wilson already? Is that the plan? Are we taking him to center? Like, what's the long-term vision here?
Right.
And it's clear that they have hope for all these young players who would like to give them the opportunity to go out there and earn it. So let's see them do it.
Right.
All right, can we talk about the Jets for a second?
Start with the Jets, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Man, I will say that I think the likeliest outcome, but for those who don't know, the Jets traded Sauce Gardner for 2 firsts and Quinnen Williams for a second this year and a first next year. And they got Maisie Smith, the former Michigan defensive tackle, back. Mm-hmm. And who did they get back from?
A.D. Mitchell.
A.D. Mitchell, yes. So they got back 2 talented guys who have not worked out in the league in these moves as well. I think the likeliest outcome from these series of trades here is this. Sauce Gardner is good and doesn't make a lick of difference for the Colts because if they lose in the playoffs, it's going to be because Daniel Jones has a rough game. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, they probably end up losing a game by more than 1 possession, and the corner is not going to be a difference maker in that. Quinnen Williams is awesome. He's not even close to fixing what's wrong with the Dallas Cowboys on defense. And that the Jets probably draft the wrong quarterback. And this leads us to a trade deadline of a lot of pieces, a lot of talking about moves that just don't work out at all for anyone involved.
All right.
Where it's like, all right, well, is Sauce Gardner worth 2 first-round picks? Probably not. Is Sauce Gardner worth the return that the Jets are probably going to get on those first-round picks? Yeah, probably because they're probably not gonna get much. They're probably not gonna use him very well.
Well, and that's what it comes down to, right? My favorite part about this is the Jets are the Jets. You know the Jets are going to screw it up because they're the Jets. Of course they're going to screw it up. This is exactly what they did like 4 years ago. They did exactly the same thing. They had 2 first-round picks and then 3 first-round picks, and they hit on a few guys. One of those guys, what the hell was that guy's name? He was really good cornerback, considered one of the best in the league. Crap, I can't think of his name. Sauce Gardner. They nailed that pick, that Sauce Gardner pick. That was a great pick by them. He doesn't play for the team anymore. So it's like, because they're not there yet, because they can't hit on the flipping quarterback. And so maybe this is the year that they get Mendoza at quarterback. And they're clearly tanking, which is good for the Patriots next week. But they're clearly tanking. But, Joe Burrow, TD saying they're going to get Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow would be could you imagine if Joe Burrow went to the New York Jets? Why would he ever do that? It
but
makes
if he did,
no sense.
If he did, it also wouldn't work given the track record.
Well,
I do. What I do think the funniest part of this whole thing is that actually the Jets haven't done this once but twice, because they did this in 2000 too. They had 4 first-round picks in 2000, and realistically, they hit on all 4 picks.
Right. Sean Ellis, good player. Sean Ellis was a Belichick pick.
Chad Pennington, who, barring injuries, like if he doesn't get injured the way he is, he probably ends up as one of those guys who's like, usually a top 10 quarterback, but never a top 5 quarterback. He probably ends up existing in that range if he's able to keep some of that arm strength. Then Anthony Beck's a tight end, who I don't really remember that much, but he
was fine, but not great.
He had over 1,000 yards in 5 years for them receiving at tight end.
Yeah.
They also got Lavernius Coles in that draft. Like that's a great draft class. And it just, you get a playoff berth in 2002, and that's about all. And a couple other playoff berths where you're a wild card team and you end up losing. Like they lose in New England 2005 in the wild card round.
It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that 2005? Yeah, it was 2005.
Yeah. But it just, that's.
Or was that 2006? That might have been 2006. But yeah, it's like they've nailed the picks. They just can't get the quarterback with it.
Well, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, here's what I'll say. For me, the best part is not the Jets, because the Jets were the winners of the trade deadline, right? Again, I think it was dumb to not trade Breece Hall unless you're planning on re-signing him, which I think would be even more stupid, but whatever. I don't understand re-signing Breece Hall in a situation like this. And so if you're not going to re-sign him, why not trade him? But whatever. It doesn't matter. Indianapolis gives up 2 first-round picks, 2 first-round draft picks for Sauce Gardner. For me, what that means for the Colts is that they have to hitch their wagons. They have to hitch their wagons to Daniel Jones. They have to re-sign him to a big contract. They have no first-round picks coming up anytime soon. So this is their team. And they're going for it. Credit to them, they're going for it. But if they're wrong about Daniel Jones after 9 games, they are in serious trouble, because there's no way out in the next few years. And so if Daniel Jones reverts back to who he was, they're in trouble. Credit to them for going for it, but whatever. On the flip side of it, the Dallas Cowboys traded Micah Parsons, arguably the best defensive player in the league, for 2 first-round picks because he wouldn't negotiate with them. And then turned around and traded a former first-round pick, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick for a defensive tackle who's a very good player, but is nowhere near the level of Micah Parsons. Make it make sense. It's all ego from Jerry Jones. And it's insane that you make that move. And by the way, then you say to the Jets, well, it's either our pick or Green Bay's pick, whoever's better. Whoever's better? Are you insane? Of course the Packers will be better than you idiots. Like, what are you talking about? Trade the Packers pick. What's wrong with you? It's so wild.
So fun. The Colts, I understand why they did it. I don't necessarily hate it. It just feels like you're going all in when you need like the turn and the river to both go your way.
That's the point, right? And that's the point, because Indianapolis, in my opinion, is stupid for doing what they did. I think that was dumb. I understand what they're doing.
I think it's reckless. It might work.
Right.
But it's very risky. I will say, I think the best argument for it, I've heard the Athletics trade deadline show. One thing they talked about was how with the cap going up as much as it does, and the fact that talented guys are hitting free agency less and less, you might just have to make more of these trades, because if you want proven A-plus talent level players, this is the only, if you're not drafting them, this is the only other way to get them right now.
True.
And
it's a good point.
I think I'll make the argument for the Colts here, because I do think it's interesting. The way this works out for you is, I think, like purely situational. It's not that Sauce Gardner is going to come in and, make like a bunch of interceptions for you or anything. It's just like the shifting effect it has on your defense and on the way other teams are going to go against you. And it's like, all right, do you feel like you can play a man coverage a little bit more often and against different looks than you did before? And offenses now are calling plays based on the fact that they think you can play more coverages. Does that change things in a way that makes you feel like you have better odds? And then the other part of it is, it's AFC divisional round and Kansas City comes to town and you're hosting them, and it's 4th and 3. You're up by 4 late in the game. You need to get a stop. Does this now give you a guy to say, we need to make one play? He can make one play in a way that you didn't necessarily have before.
Right.
It's just that to be in that spot, you have to be up by 4 in Kansas City late. And do I trust Daniel Jones to do that? No. The flip side of this is that if Daniel Jones keeps being the Daniel Jones he's been, you're probably winning these games. Like, you might be winning these games by 14 late, and Sauce Gardner might not even end up coming into it.
Right.
Which, I don't know if it's a good argument against the trade to say, well, you're so good, you're going to be beating these teams by 14 anyway. Right. If you're that good, you might as well give up the picks. You're stacked. Go all in and just remove any risk. But and then the other part of this is that Sauce Gardner he's gone from being an all-pro guy like his first 2 years. And he just hasn't. He's still good. He just hasn't played quite that level. He's a corner. They're not bought in New York. You go to a contender, I'm going to guess he's going to play a lot better now that he's in a better situation. We know how these guys are.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it makes it interesting. And I think it's 2 weeks from now, we get the Colts at the Chiefs. Yeah. And that's interesting. I think the next 3 games for the Chiefs, I think they play at Denver next week, and then they play Indy, and they get Dallas on Thanksgiving. I believe that's like their next 3 games.
Yeah, they have a tough slate. They play Buffalo late in the season too. They have a really tough slate.
I'm saying about Kansas City. They already played Buffalo.
Oh, who the heck plays Buffalo then? Who was I thinking of? No, but it was someone else I was thinking plays them week 17. Who is it we plays them week 17? Is that
It's not Baltimore, is it?
I don't know. Maybe it is Baltimore.
Oh, that was week 1.
What the hell am I talking about then?
I don't know.
Who was it that I was looking at? Whatever. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. I don't know what I'm talking about. Forget it. Forget I'm even. So it is. Oh,
no, you were correct. They play the Eagles week 17. The Bills do.
The Eagles. That's who it is.
That's a really interesting game.
Okay. All right. So, but anyways, look, it is what it is. And ultimately, we've spent far too long on this anyways. We're going to have to cut our Tampa segment a little short here because we do have to go to bed at some point. But it's.
I've been cooped up for too long, and now
I know that's the problem. I get it. It's been a while, right? We're getting all our talking out right now. But I will say that ultimately, I think that the Patriots, I would have liked to have seen them make some moves. I would have felt really terrible if they had made the moves that Indianapolis made. I would have felt a little bit better about it if they had made like a Jacoby Myers move or a Rashid Shaheed move or something like that. But at the end of the day, there's not other guys that got moved that I'm like, oh man, Tony Pollard got moved, or Arden Key got moved, or Amani Hooker got moved, or Minka Fitzpatrick got moved, or those guys didn't get moved. And so, like, I ultimately look at it and just say, okay, well, those guys didn't get moved. And so I can't argue with a trade that didn't happen because those guys weren't traded. And so either the rest of the league was saying, nah, we don't need those guys. Or the rest of the league was calling saying we want those guys, and the team was saying, nah, we're not trading you those guys. And so, or the rest of the league was like, no, we're not even interested in those guys. And the Patriots are the only ones that were interested, but the other team didn't want. I don't know. I don't know what the situation was, but either way, I just look at it and say, okay, I guess you could have gotten Joe Tryon Shainka or whatever. Like, fine. And again, Jalen Phillips is fine. I'm not paying a second round pick for Jalen Phillips. That's just off the table. Hard pass. That's a hard pass for me. I don't care.
Even if you were locking him into a contract, I'm not trading a second.
No.
With his injury history, and
I'm not trusting him. Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not trusting him in the long term. I'm just not doing it because I don't think he's trustworthy in the long term.
And I'm willing to pay him this offseason, but I'm not paying him and giving up the draft capital when, I think the goal here when you have someone like Drake May is you have the opportunity to use these draft picks next year, continue to build a young core around him, and have a cost-controlled, talented group of young players that become a core of a new dynasty. We're not trying to win one Super Bowl here. We want to, I think everyone in New England's thinking we want to go continue what we had.
When I think that's the point, right? That's the whole point of this stuff is that you want to try to hit on these picks. And that's how you we can make trades and sign guys and everything else, but if you pay attention to what the NFL is all about and the history of the NFL, you get good, like really good, by hitting on your draft picks. You don't get good by signing players in the offseason or by trading for guys at the trade deadline. Like, they can be good players for you at times, but you get really good by drafting those guys. And so for me, I'm not giving up any of my high draft picks. I'm hoping I hit on those guys. Now, Boss GM just asked a really quick question, which I agree. Do you think both the Browns and Texans said no to a sixth for Ford or Pierce? My answer to that question is pretty simple. Did those guys get moved? No. So either A, they said no to it, or B, no one in the league offered it.
Well, I'm not giving up a sixth for those guys. Are you kidding?
Right.
If I'm trading those, it's going to be like a sixth for that guy and a seventh. Like, we're talking like
Right.
These are
the Kyle Duggar move or whatever.
These are Jags. This is just a guy in the NFL, and there's just we're talking about finding a third running back for this team. Yeah, you can find that with your 7th round pick next year. So yeah, if I can get that guy with a 7th round pick next year and have him 4 years cheap on that contract, yeah, but rather have that than 8 games of.
I agree. So, anyways, all right, let's take a break. We're gonna do a quick ad read, and then we'll talk about this Tampa Bay game, and then we'll get the heck out of here.
All
right. So this ad, of course, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your football knowledge or sports knowledge, I should say, into real money. It's the #1 daily fantasy sports app. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Okay. Again, Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, which means that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Drake May's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner. I don't know if I qualify as a celebrity partner. Maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe I do. Probably not. But you never know. I'm a celebrity partner to you. You're listening to me. So I must be a celebrity partner to you at least. Or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Now, my lineup this week, I'm going with the hater parlay this week. I'm going hater all under. I'm going Devin Singletary for less than 6.5 receiving yards. That's right. Less than 6.5 receiving yards. Devin Singletary is the running back, not the receiving back in New York. I'm going for Rashard White with less than 43.5 rushing yards against the Patriots. That's right. They keep it their streak this week. Rashard White, no thank you. And Breece Hall, I'm going against the Cleveland Browns for less than 83.5 rushing plus receiving yards. How do you feel about that, Breece Hall? Anyways, that's what I got. Download the app Prize Picks today. Put in the promo code CLNS, and you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Matt. So, yeah, let's get into this Tampa game. This is probably the most challenging game of the Patriots season so far, obviously outside of the Bills game. The good news about Tampa Bay, they don't have Mike Evans. It doesn't look like they're going to have Bucky Irving. They might have Bucky Irving, but it doesn't look like they're going to have Bucky Irving. He still hasn't practiced this week. And so they're missing some guys. Ibuka is back.
Can I go through the injury report here?
Do it.
Yeah. Ibuka's back. No Mike Evans. Chris Godwin hasn't practiced. Bucky Irving hasn't practiced. Hassan Reddick out of practice. And another one of their backup linebackers, Marquise Watts, out of practice. Plus 2 offensive linemen, Ben Bredesen and Luke Gadecki, are limited right now. They're banged up. This is a weird Tampa team, but I think injuries are one of the biggest storylines here. Bucs are missing a bunch of guys there. If we assume all the guys who haven't practiced this week aren't going to play, Chris Godwin, man, good thing the Patriots did not sign him and instead got Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
That worked out in their favor. But missed top running back in Bucky Irving, one of the top pass rushers in Hassan Reddick. That's huge, I think. New England, Kayshon Boutte, Ramondre Stevenson, and Christian Ellis, all DNPs.
Yeah.
So I would assume that all 3 of those guys are going to be out this week too.
I would imagine. Yep.
So that's top running back 1, wide receiver 2 on both of these teams out, and Ellis being a key role player. I'd say he's your best pass coverage linebacker right now.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key storylines here is just going to be how can the teams mitigate the injuries.
I agree. That's a great question. And Murph says, too, they're banged up coming off a bye. They're coming off a bye, and they're that banged up. So you know that they were banged up before. Bucky Irving's been out, I don't even know, for a long time. He's been out for quite a while. And Baker Mayfield right now, what's really funny is that I feel like you could be looking at 2 of the favorites for MVP right now. Baker's got 13 touchdowns and 2 picks this year, right? He's having a heck of a season this year. Now, he had 16 picks last year. So that's really interesting because he had, like I say, 16 interceptions last season in Tampa Bay and only has 2 this season. So, where is he gonna, is he going to have one of those games? And TD says he's due for a 2 to 3 interception game. But is he going to have a game like that where he has 2 or 3 picks? And could this be the game where he does that? I don't know if it will be, but, who knows? But Baker's playing incredible right now. Obviously, Drake May's playing great right now. They're going to be without some weapons. Baker's been dealing with this without Godwin for quite a while. Now without Mike Evans for a while as well. He's finally getting Ibuka back. And it just seemed like even the game when Ibuka was out, Bucky Irving was out, Evans was out, Godwin was out, and they're playing with scrubs. Sterling Shepard's out there catching passes for them, and they still won the game. So, that's one of those things where they're just playing really well right now. It's just a good team. And Baker, I think, is a very good quarterback. And so they're a solid team. And I just think that regardless of how things are going, what's going on, Tampa's kind of stuck with it and been solid. And so it's going to be a really good test for the Patriots to see if they can, get something going against this team and win this game on the road. So it's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think we talk about MVP odds here. I think one of the reasons for that for both of these quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield is from NFL Pro. He leads the NFL in scramble pass yards, and he's scrambling a ton this year. So he has been unbelievable in those circumstances. Meanwhile, the Patriots defense has been elite in those circumstances as well. So that is a strength on strength right there. Yep. Drake May has also been someone who scrambles a lot and who has been good at it for you this year. So both of these quarterbacks are getting things done with their legs. And Mayfield, he's scrambling at a career high mark this season, 15% of the time. So that's once, every 6 dropbacks. Basically, he's trying to do something with his legs or creating out a structure there. And I think that is so dangerous because it's one thing for your defense to cover, Ibuka and Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard for the first 3 seconds, but can they do it for the 4th or the 5th second in a play when they have opportunities to try to make moves further down the field? And, this is a New England pass defense. I think everyone thinks it's talented, and it just hasn't really produced the way we were expecting at any point this season. And it's funny, I was reading Evan Lazar's upon further review before this about the Patriots-Falcons game, and you read the description to the secondary, and there's a whole lot of, this guy made good plays, this guy made good plays, this guy made good plays, this guy made good plays. And you look back at it, and it's like, well, still gave up a decent number of yards, and Atlanta could have tied the game late on that drive. And it's like, there feels like they're lacking playmakers a little bit on the back end. So, I think both quarterbacks are going to have opportunities to make plays with their legs, with their feet, and, try to beat defenses late in the down here. The team that wins is probably going to be the team that either forces the other quarterback to not, like, if you're able to just sack the quarterback and get to them and bring them down before they're able to make those plays, I think that'll be huge. Not let them extend.
Yeah, 100%.
But if they're able to extend, it's going to be the team that is able to minimize the damage the other quarterback can do there.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. By the way, just more insanity in this Thursday night game. Bo Nix, they just threw like a levels almost where the 2 guys ran it in at just like different times almost. He threw it behind one guy, but or in front of one guy, and he jumped up, but then pulled his hands away, and then he threw it a little bit behind the other guy, and it bounced off his shoulder and popped up into the air and picked off again. And it's like, this is outrageous. This game is ridiculous, man. So just absolute insanity over in Denver right now. So, anyways, I just thought that was interesting. But you're totally right that from a Patriots perspective and from a matchup perspective, it's definitely strength on strength there. And I think that the Patriots offense when they're on the field, Tampa's defense is good, but they're not elite. And so the Patriots have an opportunity here to kind of go out and and score some points. Then the question is, how well can you stop Tampa? And, Baker's been feeling it this year. Can you slow him down enough to keep it close? And I think they can.
Well, I think the key is here for New England. We'll start with New England's offense. Tampa's going to blitz the hell out of you. That's what they like to do. Drake May has been awesome against that so far. So again, strength on strength. This is what Tampa does best. This is what Josh McDaniels does. It's what Drake May does. So how can you handle those situations? You look at this Tampa team, their secondary is pretty good. Jamel Dean is having a fantastic year. Zion McCollum is really, really athletic. Jacob Parrish is a rookie, has been very good as a rookie too. Yeah. And he's been hurt, but I think he's going to play this week. So he's been practicing. So it's like, all right, that's a talented corner trio. They're probably going to do a decent job in man coverage against you. You're going to get yours, but you're not going to dominate these guys, especially with Kayshon Boutte out. Levante David is, not as good as he used to be as a coverage linebacker, but he's still there. And like Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield at safety, it's a great safety duo. A very good safety duo. And these guys can all blitz. So you're going to have to win with your mind. I think one of the areas you always try to do that, especially I think Josh McDaniels, it's always find the guy on the other team who isn't very good and just try to isolate them and beat them over and over and over again. And there's a very clear guy for that on Tampa Bay. Servassier Dennis, number 8. He's one of their linebackers. Really good pass rusher. Here are his stats right now. Quarterbacks have targeted him in coverage 40 times this year. It's been caught 36 times, so 90% of the time, for 484 yards.
Yikes.
Yeah. And it's basically all short and all yards after the catch. So I think that's the guy you go after. I think when I'm thinking of like Josh McDaniels, this type of Tampa run defense is really good. You got Vita Vea in the middle. They rally to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I might just try spreading him out, try to isolate guys underneath on Dennis and let him go to work after the catch. I can only imagine what's going on over there again. I'll have to check it.
Missed 48-yard field goal.
Nice.
To tie the game.
Incredible. So I think when New England has the ball, I'm just going after Dennis as much as I can.
100%.
I want to get the ball out fast to beat the blitz. So I'm thinking spread. I'm thinking lots of motion. I'm thinking things to draw out what the blitzes are going to be in advance, so May can win with his mind.
Yeah.
And then when you run, probably try to run to the outside. There's no use trying to run up the middle on Vita Vea. You're not going to do that.
And the good news for the Patriots is that Trevion Henderson is their guy, right? He's an outside runner.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what you're going to want to do anyways. And they rallied the football. And I think, similar to the Patriots, and the Patriots have the best run defense in the league. I think one of the reasons why their run defense is so good, and this is one of the reasons why I would never trade Gonzo. Mm-hmm. The Jets moved on with Sauce Gardner, but I think the mentality is different from Gonzo. The tackling from the corners and the safeties has been awesome this year. And that's part of the reason why their run defense is so good, because Carlton Davis and Gonzo and Marcus Jones and all the safeties get up in the muck and make tackles, sometimes behind the line of scrimmage, a lot of times at the line of scrimmage or just past it. And that makes a huge difference. And that's a mentality thing. When Gonzo was coming out of college, a lot of people questioned whether he would do that or not. And he's done that pretty consistently. Right. And Marcus, you all know Marcus loves doing that. And Carlton Davis is really good at it too. And so, can you continue to rally to the football and stop those guys? To me, that's what I'm looking at. And I think the Patriots can do that. And offensively, can you get to the outside on them? Can you pull, the tackle and the guard and get outside and get some blocking in front of, in front? And the fullback there, Jack, 37, Westover. Thank you. Goodness sake, dude. What is going on?
You sure you aren't the one with the concussion?
It's outrageous, dude. The last names, I got all the names. The numbers, I'm like, yep, I know who that is, but I don't know what's going on. Anyways, but Westover, Vrabel gave him a shout out, said he's been playing really well. He's been working hard. If they can get to the edge on those guys, now all of a sudden you look at it and say, okay, that's where you can really try to take advantage of this team. And again, I don't know how effective you're going to be doing it, but that's what you want to be able to do. And if you can stop their rushing attack, which again, not having Bucky Irving hurts them. Obviously, he's a really good running back, right? But I think that for the Patriots, at least, that could be that's a hopefully a place that they have a little bit of advantage.
Yeah, I will say I think it was I don't remember which. I think it was the Athletic podcast this week. I think it was the one they did with Nate Tice this week, where they were actually talking about Tom Brady and how someone they were talking with works with Tom Brady, and they were talking about what Brady's perspective was on things and how his goal was always, how do we get the defense into base personnel? So we get them to put 3 or 4 linebackers on the field, then we could try to pick our matchups and just get someone who we like as a route runner on a linebacker and do it that way.
Right.
I wonder if you just see the same thing this week where it's like, all right, let's put 2 tight ends and Trevion Henderson and Jack Westover and Stephon Diggs on the field. And then we're going to spread things out and we're going to force Servassier Dennis to cover one of those guys. And we're just going to throw it to that guy. And we're just going to do that over and over and over and over again for all 4 quarters until you find a way to stop it.
Right.
That I think is one of the approaches I would take here. So did you see on that side? Did you see what Greg Olsen tweeted the other day?
No.
he had a really interesting insight about Seahawks offense this year. And I think this relates to New England as well. The Seahawks are like always in like 12 personnel. So they put 2 tight ends on the field. Like they go out there and look.
I did see that.
They look like they're going to run the football. So they put 2 tight ends out there or whatever. And opponents, all right, 2 tight ends. We're going to put base defense. And then they just keep throwing out of it. They're like the best team throwing out of that look. They're just not really running the ball out of it.
Right.
And he's like, all right, teams have to adjust and realize that you have to play like the situation, not necessarily the personnel. And they're just going to try to throw out of this.
Right.
And New England has benefited from the same thing. You know, we saw how many stacked boxes they've gone against all so far this year, and they just keep beating it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if teams adjust to New England there at all, but I think you want to lean into that. You want I think you want the Bucs to put their coverage linebackers on the field, and then you want to try to beat them. I think that's how you win this game.
Right.
Defensively, this Bucs offensive line is not very good. Tristan Wirfs is playing at a crazy high level at left tackle. He's awesome. The rest of the line is not. Guys are moving around. Guys are hurt. And it's like, all right, the Bucs are going to have one receiver in Ibuka who you really like.
Mm-hmm.
They got a bunch of other players. Like Tez Johnson has had his moments. Sterling Shepard has made like one really big catch for them every single game. Cade Otton has been fine at tight end.
Right.
These are decent players. But the guy you're afraid of beating you is Ibuka. That's about it. So if you can get some blitzes and get some pressure on them, it's just you have to get Mayfield on the ground.
Right.
That I think is going to be the key, and not let him extend the plays.
Right. I agree. And if you can get after him a little bit, it'd be nice. We'll see if they can or not, but that would be nice. So
can I give you? I have to just double check this before I say it. But can I give you my stat of the week?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it should be like a segment. We should do a segment, stat of the week segment.
Or my number of the week. My number of the week. You want to know what it is, Pat?
6, 7. No. Okay. Sorry.
0.
Sorry. 0.
You want to know what 0 is?
I do.
The number of sacks that Christian Barmore has this season.
It's wild. Is that crazy? Because he's been
gets
awesome.
Yeah,
he's been awesome this year, and he has 0 sacks. And that's a perfect example of don't lead the box score. Could we?
This is one of those weeks where it's like the Bucs are not really sound on the interior, and you know Milton Williams and Christian Barmore have getting pressure at like almost the same rate all season. I think Milton Williams has 32 pressures and Barmore has 29 or something like that, according to PFF. It's like, all right, Barmore is kind of due to turn one of these into a sack. And in a game like this, I wonder if that's, if he's able to take down Mayfield.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be really cool if he was able to do that. I also think too, when you look at what it is that he's been doing, and I also wonder too, he's getting double teamed a lot, to your point. When do they start double teaming Milton Williams and not him? Like at a certain point, Milton Williams has been an absolute dog out there. Don't you have to say like, all right, Barr was really good, but like maybe we should also be double teaming Milton Williams too, and does he get those one-on-one, and now all of a sudden he's one-on-one and he's in the backfield creating havoc. And this is why having the two of them together is so much fun, because they're both so good and so dynamic that they can make their own plays. And it's awesome to see. And this is really one of those things where, the Patriots it's a strength situation for the Patriots where they can look at it and say, we're just so good in the middle of the field that there's just nothing you can do about it. Go double team Christian Barmore and we have Milton Williams coming after you. Double team Milton Williams and we have Christian Barmore coming after you. And so, that's what makes it fun. And that's why this pairing is so cool and so good. But yeah, hopefully that changes this weekend, because anyone that watches the games knows how good he's been. But for the people that are just looking at the box score, they're screaming, Christian Barmore doesn't have a sack yet? What the hell's going on? And who this guy stinks? Who paid him all this money? It's like, I just like him to have one. It'd be nice,
I will say another stat here, relevant. Baker Mayfield fumbled in all but 2 games this season.
Okay.
He's losing the ball a lot. And he is third in, so PFF has a stat called turnover-worthy throws. So it's just kind of tracking for, did you throw the ball to a defender, even if he didn't catch it, if it was a ball should have been caught by the defense. They're going to credit that. Baker Mayfield, third most turnover-worthy plays, not his throws, in the NFL. He has 13 so far this year. The only guys with more, Spencer Rattler and Tua Tagovailoa. Baker has thrown 2 actual interceptions this season.
Yep.
So just based on luck, you would expect at some point these balls are going to start getting caught.
Right.
And so much of what Tampa's done, they've won a ton, and I mean a ton of close games this year. This is a 6-2 Bucs team. Win at Atlanta by 3 points. They win at Houston by 1 point. They beat the Jets by 2 points. They beat the Seahawks by 3 points. 11-point win over the Niners and a 20-point win over the Saints. So give them credit there. They also just got a couple weeks ago got smoked by the Lions. Another game where they were pretty banged up.
Right.
So I think if you're New England, this is tough to go on the road and face a team that has been good and has made the playoffs, and I think has talent and is well coached. Also, you have a real opportunity here to change their turnover luck, go win a turnover battle here. And I think if you win this turnover battle and find solutions to Tampa's blitz, which I have a lot of faith in both Drake May and Josh McDaniels to do, you win this game. You might win this game by two possessions. So, Tampa's favored, and I get why. I really like New England's odds in this one. So also we're gonna get to see like Marcus Jones on Tez Johnson or Sterling Shepard. Like I'm a little bit anxious about Carlton Davis in this one because there isn't necessarily like a stocky. I mean, maybe put Carlton Davis on Ibuka, and I think you don't overthink that, and I think you should put Christian Gonzalez on Ibuka.
I probably would, just because why not?
If you get beat in this game, it's probably going to be because Baker makes some crazy throws to beat decent coverage.
Correct. I would think. We'll see, but that's what I would think is going to happen if that's the case.
It's just you can't blow coverages. They've blown too many coverages this year, and willing to forgive some of it given the situation around the defense. But at a certain point, you got to play like a unit, and in past covers they just haven't done that.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you have the guys to go out there and, I think dictate defensively. You just have to actually do it.
Right. Correct. I agree. So, anyways, I think we're done. Are we done here? You got anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah,
this is gonna be for just we haven't talked around the league as much, but I do think there's an interesting slate this week.
Well, it's one of those funny things. Someone had tweeted something out about knockout pool, and it's like just pick the easy matchup. And it's like, every week it's like, oh yeah, it's easy matchups all over the place. And it's like now week 10, it's like, what easy matchup are you talking about? Because like none of these are easy matchups, right? And so like, it's the Colts against the Falcons. And I think that's one that makes a ton of sense. Panthers Saints is interesting because the Panthers should win that game, but like divisional game, like, you never know. You know what I mean? Bears Giants, same thing. Like, and I know it's not a divisional game, I know that, but like, the Bears are the Bears still, and so it's funny. You start looking at some of these games and you're like, okay, this could be really interesting. The Ravens Vikings, that's going to be a game I'm really interested in seeing because the Ravens are back with Lamar. So you feel like they're a good team, but then they're going into Minnesota, who have J.J. McCarthy, who has looked really good for a game and a quarter, or maybe a whole game at some point around there. But, but also then didn't, also looked horrendous in the one game that he hurt. So it's like, it's kind of back and forth. It's an interesting slate on Sunday.
Well, to me, I think the games interest me the most, like Ravens, Vikings, both these teams hovering around 500. Both of these teams are ones that thought they were going to be playoff teams this year. And I do feel like whoever loses this one is going to be in a real tough spot for that.
Right.
Both teams have optimism, though. Quarterback's been out, and defenses not playing as well as you'd like, but coming off strong performances. I think that's a very interesting matchup. Morbidly, I'm curious about this Browns-Jets game and like what the hell happens in that one. Like, I don't think it'll be entertaining, but I am interested. Especially because you're the Jets and you win that one after everything. Like,
Right.
oh man, we're doing all this to tank, and we might end up with the 4th pick. Like,
Yeah.
And then you go later on, like Lions on the road against the Commanders, just because you're in a spot here where if the Vikings win,
I'll be there.
yes, and I'll be solo after the game on
Yep.
Sunday. But if you're the Lions and you somehow lose that game, and let's say the Vikings get a win,
Yeah.
shoot, like now you're in a maybe not the best spot. Rams at Niners, massive NFC West implications there.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers, Chargers. I don't really know if I trust either team in any way. I don't know if that game will be entertaining, but it will be very impactful for the AFC playoff race. Then Eagles, Packers. That should be a fun game.
Yeah, that should be a fun game on Monday night. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting slate of games, and I feel like it always is because we always look at it and say, well, a few weeks ago that's not the case because a few weeks ago there was just an absolutely horrendous slate of games. But usually, even when we look at it and say these games are going to stink, and then it's like winds up being one game is insane and all the other things. So, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. So
yeah, excited for it. There should be a good week, and Pats Bucs probably the game of the week.
I think so. Yeah, and it makes sense that they got the number one crew. So should be.
This is Drake
fun.
May's first game with Nance Romo and Wolfson.
Yeah. Yep. So it should be cool.
It is a real bummer that this wasn't Tom Brady's first Patriots game.
I agree.
This is on Fox because that would have been awesome. It's like, all right, it's his 2 teams, and we know I think he likes Baker a little bit. They have a weird relationship because Baker was kind of talking trash when he came in about Brady, but then also I think Brady respects the Baker attitude.
Yeah,
and obviously
I agree.
Drake May in New England. What? I haven't been on since we got that Drake May Gronk Tom Brady video.
Yeah,
that was incredible. By the way,
that was awesome, wasn't it?
That was some feelings with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It would be very funny this week if the Dolphins beat the Bills. I will say that.
That won't happen.
The Dolphins gave them a game earlier this year.
Yeah, the Dolphins are terrible, and they're tanking.
They're sure, but tank teams accidentally win games.
You're not wrong. It's a fair point.
Remember when around this point in the season, the Mac Jones Patriots beat the Bills?
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's any given Sunday in this league. On the road, Bills should crush them, but maybe.
Right.
Jags Texans.
No one wants to watch it. I don't even want to talk about that game. No one wants to watch that game.
Yeah. Giants Bears, I guess, is interesting. That's Bears got to win that one. There's a world here where if the Vikings and Bears win and the Lions drop this somehow, all of a sudden the Lions are in a tie for last place in that division.
Yeah. I know. It's pretty crazy, right?
Fun division.
Sure is. So, all right, let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate it. And Matt will be back Sunday. I'll be in Washington for the Commanders game. My brother-in-law's 40th birthday, so we're going down to the Commies game. That'll be fun. So
are you gonna watch the Patriots game during the tailgate and then go into the stadium?
So I don't know if I'm not sure what we're doing. The three of us are going to tailgate, I think, but I think we're going to go to a bar because there's a 9:30 game too. So we're going to watch. There's going to be the early game at 9:30. Then there's going to be the Patriots game at 1:00. Then the Commanders are playing at 4:30. So we're going to be at a bar watching the first game, I think, and then we're watching the Pats game. But then it's like, well, we're going to have to go to the stadium at some point. So I don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to do. I don't know how I'm going to catch the end of the game. I don't know. I'm going to be losing my mind. Hopefully the Patriots are up by 2 scores and I don't have to worry about it.
Are you going to wear a Patriots jersey?
I am not going to wear a Patriots jersey. I went onto eBay and bought a Sam Howell black Commanders jersey, and I will be wearing that to the game on Sunday.
That's not a sentence in the Bible. I can tell you that much.
So I'm excited about that one. I was like, I want to go obscure as possible. I almost bought a Jalen Lane shirt, but then I was like, I'm gonna have to spend actual money to get a Jalen Lane shirt, so I'm not doing that. So I went on eBay and bought a $10 Sam Howell's jersey was great.
That's crazy.
So anyways, that's what I got. So anyways, that's that. It'll be fun. But thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you. Matt will talk to you on Sunday, and I will talk to you next week. That's right. That's right, because next Thursday night, oh baby. All right. Well, be good to each other.